Good evening, everyone. This is Coach Darren, and welcome to the Inside Outside on Wellness Wednesday. As you can see, my partner and coach and friend, uh, our overall partner, is not here tonight. She is a little under the weather, as you all probably know. We've been dealing with this, cold. Everybody I speak to pretty much says that somebody in the household has had a cold or some variation of the flu. So, you know what, let's just wish her well and that she gets back on her feet as soon as possible. So, tonight, as you know, I'm going to talk about something that kind of combines the inside and the outside, and that is really preparing for the upgrowing spring season. You know, so for if there's any gardeners out there or anyone who's looking to garden, you know what? This is the time to start getting in the mood or getting your mindset right. Just like when we talk about health and wellness, I always spend time talking to people about getting their mindset right so that they can prepare to go into it, and have a more sustainable time as part of their on the health and wellness journey. Now, but tonight, just want to cover a few things, and this is going to be, I'm thinking it's going to be a little shorter than normal, and that's only because, like I said, my partner's not here. But we want to talk about a couple of things. We also practice, Coach Mitchell and myself, we have been trying to practice or incorporate a zero waste strategy. So we try to pretty much utilize, every piece of food as possible in some form or fashion. And then at the end, if it can't be used, we either put it in the compost, so we return it to nature. Or the other thing is, like with citrus fruit, which we don't put in the compost, we put it in our garbage disposal to help refreshing the garbage disposal, which eventually works its way out and hopefully to the landfill. All right. So, a couple of things I'm going to talk about tonight. All right. I'm going to show you these. All right. Now, I don't know if you can see these. All right. Now, these are tomatoes, but there's something interesting about the tomatoes. All right. And I'm going to try to hold it as close as I can. Is that you see, it looks like it's starting to sprout from the inside. This is what happens when you have a change in temperature or, or humidity levels are changing. Now, I'm going to show you something. I'm going to cut this one open. And I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but this is really interesting. When you see it happen, it shows you, one, that nature just wants to grow, and it's kind of hard to keep her from growing. But I just want to cut this tomato here. And again, show you the inside. Now, hopefully you can see that. As usual, we're having some tough times with the cameras again. But here you see that it's sprouting inside. Now, a few years ago, if I had seen a tomato like this, I probably would have thrown it out because I didn't know any better. Now, realizing what the tomato's doing, I didn't save it. And again, there's a name for this. It's called Viva Pary, or Pary, Viva Pary, Vivapary, which is basically, I think, a French name to saying that the seeds are starting to sprout within the parent fruit. So again, it looks kind of weird when you see it because it looks like something's like, crawling out of it, but it's really just the plant regenerating. So what you can do is, you could throw it out, but why do that? Because these are a bunch of tomato plants basically getting ready to grow. So what I want to show you tonight is how to maximize this one tomato instead of throwing it out and replant it. Now, there's a couple of ways you could do this. Right? If you got a big enough pot, it's not the best way, but you just take the whole tomato, half, and stick it in some soil. Now, I actually learned something like that from actually Mitchell's mother, who said, "Oh yeah, you can just put the whole tomato in the dirt, and it will just grow." And at the time that she told me, I just thought, "Whoa, that's kind of interesting. I never thought about that. It will really grow." And she said, "Yeah," and I've been doing it with different plants since then. Well, that's one way of doing it. But then you run the risk, as I did last year, with a whole bunch of, I did it with a pepper plant and a whole bunch of plants growing in one pot, which you did have to separate. First and foremost, you don't want to throw it away, especially if you are planning to do gardening. Now, what you can do, and again, that the tomato's not bad, is you can separate it. You can cut it, cut it out into little pieces. And again, these are little sprouts. And you can be meticulous and separate them, or you can just grab them in little clusters. And all you're going to do is, which you really can't see here, but I have a tray. And because I started this process yesterday, and you'll see that this tray, all right, just has a bunch of small pots in it. And these small pots basically have a tomato that I separated and then put it in small pots. And then I put the cover over it, and that creates the humidity. Now, this is where the inside-outside comes in. Now, it's a little early, based on where I am, to grow tomatoes. But I didn't want to throw that tomato out, so I just started planting it. I'll put this over it to help create the humidity, which will help the tomato to start to grow. And you might see here, I don't know if you can really tell, but you see that there's one already coming through the soil. And this was just done, put in the soil yesterday. So there's one there. There's actually one here. And then there's actually one in this little pot there. Now, these may grow and again beat me to the time where they move outside, which in my region I think is somewhere, I think it's March. Yeah, maybe March, April. But after the last frost date, that's actually so more like April, that they get moved outside. But again, depending on the temperatures, I might be able to move them out sooner. But most importantly, I want to get them to grow now. And it was a way, again, of not wasting that tomato, that just wanted to produce more tomatoes. So this is sort of experimental, and it didn't cost much. So if you have a tomato, you got a pot, you got some soil, give it a try. The other thing is, if you want to start gardening and you're new to it, you can actually, again, keep it really low cost. You can swing by your Dollar Tree store and pick up some seeds, all right? There's just a bunch of seeds, all right? And you can, pick up your seeds. You can pick up some starter pots, which I showed, we showed you last week. And you can really get started inside for pretty much really pennies. All right? Now, again, to show you, here are some starter pots. Showed you last week, but they weren't in use. They have now been, soil's been put in and they've been soaked, which is just the way you use these biodegradable pots. And then I planted different herb seeds. I have about 18 of these small pots, and also this came from Dollar Tree. This tray came from Dollar Tree. The pots came from Dollar Tree. So really, if I were to add up the cost of the seeds, this right here is probably the most expensive thing, which was $1.25. The tray was like 33 cents. The pots are like maybe a dime a piece. And then the seeds are pretty much, as they say, pennies on the dollar. So you pretty much, for less than $2, you're growing your own food. These are all herbs. And then you can do different things with the herbs. Now, and when you get your seeds, you can get, like I said, they got vegetable seeds, they have herb seeds, they even started carrying microgreen seeds. So, you can grab any of those, and this is really kind of cool. Hello, Ray. I just saw that Ray joined us. And there's this huge wave now of, again, health and wellness. And if you haven't been exposed to it, it's a pretty good chance you're not thinking in a health conscious manner because it is growing, along with gardening, along with people looking for natural remedies. So the trend is coming, and there's a bunch of reasons, I believe for that. One, people are just looking for something new and different, and I think they've been kind of almost just exhausted with all the other negative stuff. That now people are looking for something better, and they're going back to, I'm gonna say they're going back to nature. So you may see a lot more items available. Now, some people, when they buy the seeds, they, say, well, I don't want to buy from Dollar Tree, or I don't want to buy, seeds from cheap places because they don't germinate as well. I mean, they don't get a lot of output from the input. Mhm. But I think, for the price, and especially if you're starting, it's well worth it. The other option, as we've shared before, is uh, save your seeds. Now, save your seeds from your fruits. You know, I don't believe you can save seeds from herbs. All right, they don't produce seeds, to my understanding, because only fruits produce seeds. But you save your seeds from all of your fruits, and that's another way of being able to experiment. Get your soil, when you can, and get some small pots. Uh, you can get the starter trays from just about anywhere from Amazon. There's so many ways that you can do this. There's also, like I said, a lot of groups on social media that are, you know, they get together to talk about their experience with gardening. So you have resources. So I really, highly suggest that give it a try, because there's so many health benefits to producing your own food. The obvious one is, what's in it, or you have a better idea at least of what's in your soil. Uh, if you're growing inside, that is even better, because it's better from knowing, because you may not know what's in the soil in, say, on your property. But if you do, that also helps to give you a better idea of what you're eating. So that's really, the takeaway. As we mentioned before, like I said, you can start. You can get all kinds of pots really cheap. Just want to make sure you got drainage in them and your soil, and just get started. Like I said, my herbs, I have 20 little pots, and I'm going to probably do more. And I'm going to do this tomato that I just showed you earlier. I'm going to bust that up, and try to plant it. And if it turns out anything like it did last year with my tomatoes, I had an abundance of tomatoes, which really shocked me, because that was my first time really growing tomatoes. I tried it once before, and only got like one or two before the season changed. So I'm trying to get a jump start. So that's what I would urge everyone to do. If you're thinking about this, just start. There are just so many reasons that we need to start growing, or learning to grow our own food. Now, so that's that, and I really just want to go back and stress a couple of things that I covered on social media this past week, based off of questions that people asked me. And one is going back to I said the zero waste strategy, and how do I do it. And the focus always seems to be, for folks who are juicing, one of the questions that came up several times was, how, let me, what's that say? Oh, I made it. Yeah. I don't know who that is. Uh, so whoever just, said I made it on, what? I don't see your name, but welcome. Thank you for joining. So, so where was I? Yeah, again, just really trying to encourage people, and telling you about the questions that I've been receiving, or questions that have been asked, and I've just been answering them, and been part of the conversation. And again, it's when you're juicing, what do I do with the pulp? Because people who juice, they know when you're a juicer, you get the pulp out one end, you get the juice out the other. And several people kind of gave the same answer. which is, you can do everything from adding to your meals, baking. One gentleman who said he adds it when he's cooking meat, he adds the pulp to his meat, again, to give it a unique flavor. Now, you can add it back to your smoothies, or you can do like I do with my peels is I dehydrate them. So that's a way of utilizing all of the, produce. And the zero waste strategy really goes much deeper. We only focus on the food part on, inside outside wellness Wednesday, because we tend to, as a society, we tend to uh, dispose of a lot of food. We have huge food waste. So to get started, like I said, I probably say put on your, to-do list, this week between now and the weekend to swing by, and I'm only saying go to the Dollar Tree because that's where you can get started really cheap. Go by, get yourself some starter pots, preferably get the biodegradable ones, because if you get the biodegradable ones, like I said, you can stick them right in the soil when you transplant outside, or stick them right into a bigger pot, because the biodegradable will eventually just wear away. You know, get yourself some seeds. Seeds were like 4 packs for $1. Again, really cheap. Or you can always go on Amazon. Seeds are a little bit more expensive, but you might have a higher germination rate from some of the other places. Or again, just go back to the source and just leave a tomato. If the temperatures are fluctuating inside your home, if the humidity levels are changing, the tomato will start to, will start to grow on its own. That's kind of a wonderful thing to just see it, because it gives you an idea of just how wonderful nature is. And pretty much you have to do really little. If you just leave nature alone, in terms of make it more difficult for her, but just let her be, she will grow on her own. So again, you take the tomato, put the whole thing in, or separate it and get multiple plants out of it, and then it will continue to grow. All right, so again, that was it. I won't go over the any of the other things like that. Oh, I do have one more thing. I don't know if I talked about it last week, because we try to maximize, and we're doing a lot of experimenting now. One of the things is getting into fermenting and canning foods. Now, again, this is all new to me. I grew up in the city. My mother and grandmother were houseplant lovers, but they weren't gardeners per se. So this transition has been interesting. As I tell people, the learning has been, wonderful, and it's also been humbling. And now, like I said, moving into the fermenting, again, you can do it fairly cheap. And if anyone's on a health and wellness journey, fermented foods, that they are essential to your digestive system. So how do you do it? I'm gonna just show you something quick here. Now, again, that's my jar of cabbage that's been sitting about 3 weeks. And again, there's a whole technique to it, but the takeaway is you can start it and you can do it relatively cheaply. In this case, it's cabbage, which will basically become sauerkraut. So there you go. And what you do with after that is a whole nother conversation. But again, something you can do, and it's, like I said, relatively inexpensive. And I think that's going to be about it for tonight's session. I didn't want to leave, didn't want to skip tonight. And even though Coach Mitchell is not here, I just wanted to touch base with everybody. And I'm glad that a couple of you, did show up. And I appreciate it. Are there any questions about anything that I talked about in the last 20 minutes? Mhm. Uh, I know. Oh, oh, okay. That, hello, Yvette. That's Mitchell's cousin. And yes, as you can see, Mitchell's not here with me. She is not feeling well. Mhm. So, any, okay. Uh, yes, you want to try the cabbage in the jar. What you really just want to do is you can look up. Uh, you can actually reach out to us on Facebook, and can guide you in getting started, or you can just look up fermenting uh, your own foods. And it's basically, like I said, get a mason jar or mason jars. You can either get cheesecloth, or you can see that I just happen to have a particular type of lid on here, which is like an airtight lid. Uh, and then inside there's basically something called like a fermenting weight. It's basically a glass thing that helps to keep the cabbage pressed down, uh, which also helps with the fermenting process. Now, these will take weeks. Well, depending on how you do it and your taste buds, it may take anywhere from 10 days to several weeks. But again, it's just a nice way of, uh, learning how or doing, maximizing your food. Because here's something: if you got a cabbage in your refrigerator that you don't think you're going to be able to consume, chop it up and ferment it. It's the same thing with everything else. You know what? Don't throw stuff away because you can give it, a second life. So uh, that's the fermenting. And like I said, I hope to start learning how to can foods. That'll just be another way. So uh, definitely will do, Yvette. Uh, you know, all right. So are there any questions? No? Oh, just one more thing. And I just want to bring this up. Uh, just ironically, the last 24 hours, I had got 3 calls. Yeah, yeah, it was 3 individuals. Mhm, who called me up, and it's just kind of interesting that it was almost like it was coordinated, but the same topic came up, and again, it was uh, men in my age bracket who again were struggling with trying to get healthy, and that's more on the inside part of tonight. And I just want to share just a couple of quick things with anybody if you're trying to make that transition and you're stuck. And this is really going to be a carryover from our discussion last night because there's a connection. If you don't have the energy, and these 3 gentlemen all mentioned that in their conversation, it was waking up and not having the same, the energy to go do anything, like exercise. One, once you remove the term of exercise and just think about movement. Once you start with, you just want to move as much as possible. That's how the gardening connects to it, because if you're gardening, you're moving. Mhm. So you want to start there. Exercise comes later. If this is where if you're having a hard time getting started with your wellness. Mhm. Now, if you're having low energy levels, that could be from many things. It could be from lack of sleep. It can be from your diet. Uh, you know, it could be from insufficient hydration. Maybe you need to drink more water. It could be from any of those things, or it can also be from, like I said, nutrient deficiency. And when we are lacking in energy, that pretty much impacts everything else because we never get anything done because we just don't have energy. We just don't feel like it. So if that is you, if you can relate to this feeling where you wake up and you're waking up with no energy, you really want to just make you know, just make a decision that you're going to address this, and you have to go all in. So you really have to develop new habits, and I would say just start with making sure you're getting, sufficient water. Make sure you're getting ample, uh, you know, fruits and vegetables. And the other question that came up was supplements. Uh, because I do recommend supplements to people under certain conditions. They should not become your go-to. Supplements are just that. They supplement, your other choices, which in case are supplementing your diet, your food. Your first thing is you want to make sure you're eating properly, which again is a whole conversation of itself. So you want to really, you know, focus on getting your fruits and vegetables and make sure that you have the majority of the nutrients and minerals that you need. You want to make sure you're getting your water. Yeah. You want to eliminate the things that are possibly sucking the energy out of you. And one of the things that will cause us to have lack of energy is when our blood vessels are constricted. Mhm. So you want to do things that may open them up, and you want to eliminate things that may be causing them to constrict. Mhm. So some of the things you want to do, and I would say this is immediate, you have to get away from the refined sugar. Mhm. Uh, and the refined, let's see. Oops, somebody's going out. Okay. Oh, someone said, yeah, I haven't had sauerkraut in a while. Yep. Wow. Yeah, I love it. Every time I have it, believe it or not, it takes me back to um, when I was in elementary school. On the way home or at lunchtime, there was a little kind of, yeah, I wasn't a restaurant, wasn't a cafe. We didn't use the word cafe back then, but it was a place where you could go get hot dogs. And I remember getting the hot dogs with sauerkraut. So when I have sauerkraut now, uh, you know, just as is on top of a salad or something, it still takes me back. It's just kind of interesting that I get that flashback. So, uh, and then the question here, yeah, is supplement is a good go-to. Uh, oh, you're welcome. Yeah, you should not live on supplements, even with vitamins. Now it's kind of a tricky thing because even when we're eating healthy, and this you're gonna see how all connects. And when I talk on Tuesdays, I pretty much said it. Everything is connected. If you're eating properly, you still may not be getting sufficient nutrients. Even if you're eating organically, you still may not be getting sufficient nutrients. Why? Because our soil on a mass level is being depleted. So, and I forgot what the actual stats are, but they say almost like an orange, like you have to eat like 7 oranges now compared to one orange 50 years ago. And again, my numbers may be off, but you hopefully get the point, which means our food is not uh, as nutritious. And the reason for that is because the soil is not as healthy as it used to be. So that may be one reason why you might still want to take supplements. You just don't want that to be your main source. Because again, just in the word itself, supplements. And even if you try to make it your main source, you probably have to overdo it to make it work. Because there's a whole bunch of other things that go into uh, the vitamins and minerals becoming what they call bioavailable and your body absorbing them. So you want to just kind of keep that in mind. So going back to just some of the things that you might want to do if you find yourself struggling with energy levels is again remove the processed foods, remove the refined sugars. We tend to go to, well, I don't anymore. I did go through a period in my life where I used to be a huge Mountain Dew, mm, drinker, and I would mix Mountain Dew and orange juice. And at one point in time, I'd mix Mountain Dew orange juice uh, with this energy drink, breakfast drink. It was in powder form, and I mixed together, and that's how I jump started my morning. Whew. Let me tell you, the heart palpitations just started getting crazy. But that's what we tend to do. You know what? We go for the coffee. We go for the, energy drinks. That energy is not sustainable. It'll take you up, and then you usually will end up having a crash, which will make you feel worse than you did before you had it. So you want to really avoid that and go on a more healthier approach. Consume, you know what, teas like even green tea. You can, do that. This is where you can connect the green tea with the natural teas that we discussed on here that you may make out of, say, your orange peels or your pineapple skin. You can combine them. So you may choose that as an option. Your natural fruits will also help give you that energy boost. So there's another option as well. Look at your sleep. Now, here's something too that's important is if you're not getting adequate sleep, that leads to other problems that we don't normally think about. So you want to get your adequate sleep because that will also lead to fatigue. It also leads to insulin resistance, which then leads to possibly becoming diabetic. Some of the things that we don't even think about. So get your stress management under control because your stress management, if you're constantly stressing, you're exhausting your bodily systems because the stress is actually going through your entire body. One of the easiest things to do, and you've heard me share this on various platforms, is learning how to breathe. Again, that's also what I tell people, the one thing to gardening. And again, I keep stressing how new I am to this, and I got more than I bargained for. Because I tell people that when I'm gardening, it's the place where I remember to breathe and how to breathe. And when I'm gardening, it is just a place where, and there's something magical, mystical about this. It's a place where you can feel being connected to something greater than yourself. Now, that may seem weird to some people, unless you're a gardener. And I found out just this week that, there are a lot of gardeners who say the same thing. So I don't feel out of place, but I understand it now. I never would have guessed, that experience, which is a huge health benefit. So, like I said, you see how you do all these little things and they get rolled up into the whole holistic part of health and wellness. So if you garden, you get the health benefits of just being in the garden. You get a health benefit of possibly even being able to do the meditation in the garden. And you get the benefit of the food itself. And it's, as I had an exchange with someone who's been farming since they said they were 6 or 7 years old. They grew up on a farm. And they said one thing they never had to deal with, and they ended up raising 7 children. They said, the cost of food has never been a concern for us. Now it's pretty enlightening when you keep hearing people talk about the cost of food. Then you hear someone say, it's never been a problem for us. Why? Because they always grew their own food. And now people are realizing that you can do it. You can start regardless of your space limitations or location. All right? So I hope I gave you something to take away. I know I think I encourage Yvette, I think that was you, said you're going to try to do the cabbage, which is great. And so, yep, I love gardening. I can't wait. About 2 more months. Yes, I said last season was my first. I say it was my first full season of really just trying to grow whatever I could, and I really got a little disappointed when the seasons changed, and I didn't prepare for the fall season to start planting, all vegetables. I ended up planting something at the tail end, so I got something in there, but I didn't do it. I didn't go on with that gusto like I did last spring, and I still got started late. So if you missed the earlier part where I was showing how I'm, taking these tomatoes and I'm starting to garden indoors by just planting these. And part of that is I didn't want the tomato to be wasted, but I also, I got antsy, so I just started doing things inside. Uh, so whatever I could, I started prepping seeds, so that, yeah, in a couple of months, I can make that transition back outdoors. So again, I can't stress it enough, is I really hope other people, you know, um, what, Yvette, you said I know you're gardening because, Coach Mitchell, has told me, Ray, I told you, I try to encourage you to try to start. It's really good too if you have young children in your, in your sphere, whether they're your children or your grandchildren. I think gardening, it helps them to develop another lifestyle. We talk about children spending too much time with their digital devices. Well, here's an opportunity to, get them to reconnect with nature, reconnect with their food source, and it just gives them another dimension in terms of their learning. I tried right before the pandemic, which is one of the ways I ended up in this space, was funding a Go and Grow program, which was for elementary school children. And as we were getting the program up and running, the pandemic shut everything down and never really returned to, doing that. If I get the urge, I find that there's really a need, I will return to doing that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, start early March. Yep, it's a beautiful thing. It's addictive. So, and it's a good addiction. Meaning, you know what? You'll find that connection to the earth. You just be there. It's almost like that's where you're supposed to be. Because I tell people in the health and wellness, I said, you really cannot go on a health and wellness journey and not end up in some aspect of gardening. If you stay on the journey long enough, it's going to take you there. Yep. So, am I going to start the funding program over? Yeah, I'm not sure because again, now that we relocated, it was for school, so I would have to develop relationships with school systems down here. If given the opportunity and everything lines up, yes, I will definitely do it. Part of me almost thinks that, being now in the South, that more children are probably exposed to gardening. I could be wrong, than they are in the Northeast. Again, just a feeling. So, takeaway for tonight, most important one is don't throw away. If you ever see a tomato looking like this, it's not going bad per se. It's just tired of sitting around waiting on you. So it's going to go ahead. It's going to go and grow on its own. Take it and plant it in some dirt. Now, you can do it inside, and then when it gets warmer out, take it outside, and by the summer, you could have a whole vine of tomatoes. All right. Again, thank you for hanging out with me. And like I said, next week, Coach Mitchell, like I said, let's ask, and pray for her speedy recovery, that she's back. And in the meantime, connect with us on Facebook or any of our pages, and then again, catch up with us on the I Am Well platform, and on the new platform called Go and Grow, which is on Facebook as well. So if there's no more questions, thank you very much. And I will see you guys next week.